admit that the Quran promotes an extreme type of pedophilia. His words, not mine. Yes, I'm talking about the same Mohammed Hijab who sends us messages about golden showers and other disgusting fetishes that he can't stop thinking about. Yes, I'm talking about the same Mohammed Hijab who believes that deep down, non-Muslim women want to be raped by jihadis. This same Mohammed Hijab claims that if all we had to go on was the Quran, we would think that it's perfectly acceptable to have sex with 5-year-old girls. According to Hijab, we only know that men should wait until girls are a bit older because of the hadith. But in the Quran, it's open season on 5-year-olds.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. If you just read the Quran, it is halal, it would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ, and the ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty. Wait a minute, what did you say? It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahidn. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that.
Now, we're about to hear more from Mr. Hijab, but I wanted to pause here to make sure that everyone understands his point about Surah 65, verse 4 of the Quran. Let's read the verse, which is a little confusing, until you realize that it's talking about divorcing prepubescent girls after having sex with them. And those of your women, as have passed the age of monthly courses, for them the iddah, prescribed period, if you have doubt about their periods, is 3 months. And for those who have no courses, i.e. they are still immature, their iddah, prescribed period, is 3 months likewise, except in case of death. And for those who are pregnant, whether they are divorced or their husbands are dead, their iddah, prescribed period, is until they lay down their burden. And whoever fears Allah and keeps his duty to him, he will make his matter easy for him. What is this mess? Really confusing and horribly written, right? Welcome to the Quran. In this verse, Allah is giving rules for divorcing women and girls who don't have a monthly menstrual cycle, which this translation calls monthly courses. Earlier in the Quran, Allah had declared that if a man divorces a woman, there's a waiting period before the woman can get married again. The waiting period, called the iddah, was 3 monthly menstrual cycles. The idea was that there should be a waiting period in between husbands so that if the woman had a child, there wouldn't be any confusion about who the father was. But Muhammad's followers eventually asked him, what about women and girls who don't have a monthly menstrual cycle, either because they're too old, or because they're too young, or because they're pregnant? What do those women and girls do when we divorce them? So, Allah revealed Surah 65, verse 4 of the Quran, where he gives rules for divorcing women and girls who don't have a menstrual cycle because they're too old, too young, or pregnant. Allah says that if a man divorces a girl who's too young for a monthly menstrual cycle because she hasn't reached puberty, the girl has to wait 3 months before she marries another man. Not 3 menstrual cycles, the girl doesn't have a menstrual cycle yet. She waits 3 months instead. So that's what the verse means when it says, and for those who have no courses, i.e. they are still immature, their iddah, prescribed period, is 3 months likewise. In case you're wondering if this is what the passage actually means, let's look at 3 of the most respected Quran commentaries in history. According to Ibn Kathir, the words, and for those who have no courses, refer to the young who have not reached the years of menstruation, i.e. prepubescent girls. According to Tafsir Jalalain, this verse is referring to those who have not yet menstruated because of their young age.
David Wood, same David Wood who tried to kill his father with a hammer, was put into a mental hospital by his mother. When David Wood is not, fantasizing about getting attention for himself, or fantasizing about his times when he was raped in prison or doing the raping in prison, or when he was in the mental hospital, doing God knows what. He's bringing up same old retired and stupid arguments against Islam over and over and over again. He's repeating same old arguments against Islam that have already been refuted. Now he's going after Mohammed Hijab, or he's posting Mohammed Hijab footage in order to get attention for himself. So he's using Mohammed Hijab to get attention for himself, because David Wood, again, is the world's biggest attention whore. He'll do anything for some attention, even if it means using other people. But anyways, getting to this claim about the Prophet Muhammad being a pedophile and the Quran promoting pedophilia, etc., etc. There's a very simple answer to this. Now, let's just get into the Quranic verse, because that's the first part that he brings up. The verse in question is the Quran, chapter 65, verse 4, I believe. Yeah. So let's read that passage real quick. Let me just pull up that passage real quick here. It says, and I'm reading from the Sahih International Translation, it says, "And those who no longer accept menstruation among your women, if you doubt, then their period is 3 months, and also for those who have not yet menstruated. As for those who are pregnant, their term is until they gave birth. And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him his matter ease." Quran chapter 65, verse 4. Now, he's not the only one, but there are some critics who twist this Quranic verse and says that it allows child marriages. The problem, there's a lot of problems with this claim, but first we have to look at the Arabic word Nisa. What does Nisa mean? Nisa means women. It does not mean female children. If you look at Arabic-English dictionaries, the word Nisa, the Arabic word for women, is used 59 times in the Quran. Not once is the word Nisa used for female children. It always refers to mature adult women. And you can find this in... one second here. You find this in Arabic-English Dictionary, page 1070. I'll post all the references below. Arabic-English Dictionary, the Wehr Dictionary, page 963, and other dictionaries. Just to save time, I won't list all of them. So, basically, the Quran is basically commanding Muslim women to observe a waiting period, which they must observe before they can remarry. This waiting period must be observed after they're divorced, which is a waiting period of 3 months. So David Wood uses the part where it says, also for those who have not yet menstruated, and concludes that this gives permission for Muslims to marry female children, or little girls. Some other English translations render the word yet at the end of the passage. If we look at the passage just as it is, it does not mention or state that you can marry female children. Nowhere in the Quran, chapter 65, verse 4, does it say you can marry young girls or young female children. So the whole point is, I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible, but the whole point is about the waiting period. You have to wait until, you have to wait until, like, they're done menstruating before, hang on, let me reread that verse one real quick. You have to wait for menstruation, you have to wait till they're done menstruating, before you can divorce them. So a period of 3 months has to be observed here. So that's basically, David Wood is, okay, well, let's get into this whole, the Prophet Muhammad's a pedophile argument. Now, this hadith kind of disturbed me. I'll be honest, this hadith did disturb me many years ago when I started looking into the Prophet Muhammad's life and, going on to these anti-Islamic websites, 15 years ago, that was the number one thing they would bring up, or the almost number one thing they would bring up, that the Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl and consummated the marriage when she was only 9 years old. Now, there's a very simple answer to this, but I want to go to the Bible because David Wood is a Bible-believing Christian, or he claims to be a Bible-believing Christian. Yet he magically becomes an atheist when he talks about Islam. But anyways, there's a passage there's a very disturbing passage in the Old Testament, and that's Numbers chapter 31, verse 18. Let me pull it up real quick. Oops. Pull it up real quick here. Okay. And I'm reading from Numbers chapter 31, verses 17 to 18. It says, now Moses is telling his people, now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with them. But all the women children, that means the 9-year-olds, the 6-year-olds, the 3-year-old girls that were around, that have not known a man, so they're virgins, by lying with them, keep alive for yourselves. So what this implies is sexual intercourse with female children. So the Old Testament, or at least Numbers chapter 31, verses 17 to 18, allows sexual intercourse with little girls, according to the Torah. So, there's no way around this. Now he might say, well, that's the Old Testament. Forget about the Old Testament. We follow the New Testament. No, there's no way around this, because if you read 1 Timothy, I think 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy, it says all scripture is inspired for training morality and righteousness. I don't remember the verse, but I'll post it below. It's in 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy. I forgot what verse it is. But regardless, you see how inconsistent he is. You see how inconsistent David Wood is. He's using these ridiculous atheist arguments that can be thrown right back against the Bible. But anyways, getting to the Prophet Muhammad's marriage with Aisha, this is a very simple issue. Back in those times, a girl would get married when she's mentally and physically fit for marriage. I don't know, 1400 years ago, in the 600s when the Prophet Muhammad was living, 1,400 years ago, it was perfectly normal for a man to marry a young woman when she's mentally and physically fit. So when Aisha was mentally and physically fit for marriage, the Prophet Muhammad married her and consummated the marriage, because it was very common back in those times. There's a hadith where Aisha says that I reached puberty, or I became a woman when I was 9 years old. That means it was very common back in Yemen and in Arabia and other places in that region, that when a woman becomes mentally and physically fit for marriage at the age of 9 or 10 or whatever, at that age, then she's ready for marriage. Today, in the 21st century, we know, in 2022, etc., we know that 9-year-old girls and 6-year-old girls are mentally and physically not fit for marriage. We know that 9-year-old and 6-year-old girls are busy, I don't know what they're doing. They're probably playing the Nintendo Switch, or I don't know what little girls do these days, but they're probably watching TV or something. But anyways, they're not physically and mentally fit for marriage. They're too busy watching Marvel movies, or doing I don't know what they do, playing Pokemon. Like what's the thing kids do these days? Like whatever they do, I don't know. But so that's the point. The point is, you have to wait until a woman is mentally and physically, in Islam, as with Christianity and Judaism, you have to wait till a woman is mentally and physically fit for marriage. Back 1400 years ago, a 9-year-old would be mentally and physically fit for marriage, because we know girls mature faster than boys, right? When I was I don't know, 9 years old, I was very immature, for my age. I remember I would, like, I don't know, what was I doing? I wouldn't do my homework. I would get in trouble with the teachers a lot. I would I don't know what the hell I would do. I would just what did I what was I doing when I was 9 years old? Oh, that's right. I would read comic books. Yep, that's right. I would read comic books instead of like listening to the teacher, and she would get like really mad. And then the girls around me would get mad too because I'm I was like taking up the teacher's time because the teacher's trying to discipline me, and the girls are trying to get her help for their homework, and the teacher's spending too much time disciplining me. So that just shows that girls, they mature quickly, and they're more mature than boys are. Even in modern times, I remember that girls would be more mature. They would be more responsible than boys would be. Nowadays, but now but back 1400 years ago, girls were not only mentally and physically ready for marriage, but it was just something very common. Nobody thought twice about it. The Prophet Muhammad's not the only one who did it at that time, although other men would marry those young girls even before Muhammad was even born. They would do that because that's just the way society was. Society has changed since those times. So nowhere, even if you read the Bible, right? If you read the Old Testament or New Testament, nowhere does it say you have to be 18 years old before you have to be 18 years old to get married and consummate that marriage to a man either the same age or much older. So nowhere in the Bible does it say you have to be 18, 16, 20, 21 to get married. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that, both the Old and New Testaments. And the reason why is because, according to biblical theology, a girl is ready for marriage when she's mentally and physically fit for marriage. But even that doesn't apply, because if you read Numbers chapter 31, 17 to 19, verses 17 to 19, the verses I just cited, it says that, that little girls were raped, or little girls were taken as sex slaves by Moses and his soldiers, the Midianites. So according to Numbers 31, there is no, you can take women, children, you can have sex with women, children, if you want. You don't even have to get married to them. You can just keep them for your own sexual enjoyment. But in Islam, there's something called, there's something called don't harm others principle. So if a 9-year-old girl today, if someone is forcing a 9-year-old to get married today, according to Islamic, and using the Islam to justify it, they can't do that, because in Islam, you're allowed to marry a woman who's mentally and physically fit for marriage. Little girls now are not mentally and physically fit for marriage. They're too, they need more time to develop, at least, physically and mentally. So that's the whole point. So basically, this whole argument just backfires on him because he knows he's inconsistent. He doesn't want to bring the Bible into this, because if he brings the Old Testament, or he brings the Bible into this, his whole argument falls apart. So, he's inconsistent there. But, you just gotta use a little bit of, you just gotta look into history a little bit, use a little bit of common sense and logic, and this argument falls apart. This is a fallacious. What David Wood is doing is he's using a fallacious argument. He's using an appeal to emotion fallacy. Oh, the Prophet Muhammad married a 9-year-old. He must, he must be immoral in doing that. Well, read your own Bible, because the Bible definitely allows having sex with young girls. You don't have to get married to them. You can have sexual intercourse with them when they're young girls. So he's being inconsistent there. So stay tuned. More videos are coming up. I hope this clarifies the issue.